Welcome to the Deusto International Talks Summer School Series. My name is Ana Mariscal, and as part of Deusto International team, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Deusto International Talks, and in particular to today's session, integrated in our Summer School Series and evolving around competencies for the new normal, sustainable finance, and problem-solving mindsets. Before we start, we would like to inform you that the talk is being recorded and you will receive the session's video shortly. Moreover, during the session, please feel free to make any questions or comments you may have through the chat. At the end of the talk, our guest panelists will reply to any questions you may have posted during the webinar. Today's session, Competencies for the New Normal, Sustainable Finance and Problem-Solving Mindsets, is set as a roundtable discussion on the competencies organizations and individuals will need to develop as we move increasingly towards a more complex and uncertain society, spurred on by dramatic ecological, social, and technological changes. As follows, and in order to provide a deeper analysis of this topic, I am delighted to introduce today's session 3 guest panelists. We have Dr. Paco Bri, who is the Director of Innovation Programs at Deusto Business School. Paco Bri holds a doctorate in Business Administration from Kingston Business School, completing his training with programs in artificial intelligence and exponential technologies at MIT and Singularity University. He currently works, as we were saying, as professor and director of innovation programs at Deusto Business School, but also he is an artist, a writer, and a recognized professional in the field of creativity and innovation, being a regular collaborator in different media. Dr. Mikel Larreina, he has been a professor since 2000 at Deusto University. He is the vice dean at Deusto Business School since 2012. He is a trainer in educational programs in BBVA Bank, Bilbao Stock Exchange, and Seguros Bilbao Catalán Occidente, which is an insurance company since 2004. Scientific collaborator of the Rioja Wine Strategic Plan and Rioja Alavesa Strategic Analysis. He has specialized in financial system, financial evaluation, economic impact of regional industries and clusters and wine economy. And finally, John Recacoechea, who is the head of environmental, social, and governance investments at Fineco, private banking division of Kutxabank. Many thanks to all our panelists for your presence today with us, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction and for inviting us to be with you today in this panel. First of all, we need to excuse our fourth panelist. This is Alicia Santamaria. She was expected to join from Munich, where she works for Sky Deutschland. But as we will mention later, well, the new paradigm is something that requires flexibility from us, and we need to face the unexpected. And this is what has happened earlier today when a problem has appeared at the Sky Deutschland and has required her involvement. So she's quite unhappy not to be with us right now, but fortunately we have her ideas and we will try to put them on the floor as well. So let's go directly to this topic, the new normal. So what is this new normal? Has the paradigm really changed? And how can education, how can the skills that young people have, how do they need to be different in order to deal with this situation? That's what we are gonna cover in today's discussion. And as you have seen in a previous slide while Anna was speaking, there are 4 main topics that we want to address. So, which is the real business that companies may have, how companies are being run, which is the role of leaders or managers, then how individuals may add value to these companies, and which is the kind of behavior that we may expect from people joining the industry. And let's go to the first question. So, Paco, how do you see how uh, businesses make money today? So, has something really changed, or is just a trend that will change in a few months, or there is something fundamental that has changed and that we need to adapt to?
Hello, thank you for inviting me. Welcome, good morning. Thank you, Mikel, John, and Anna. And to answer the question, I will use some concepts that normally we have in the business innovation program. And I'm going to start with corporate longevity. So if you take a study from InnoSight, companies in the Standard & Poor's index in the year 58, the expectancy life of these companies was almost 60 years with the main business model. Today, probably the business life of a company in this index is around 20. So we are reducing the expectancy life of a company from 60 years to 20 years. And this is mainly because of a concept, which is the accelerating change, which is even increasing today. Normally, you will have like two forces affecting this expectancy life of a company. One is slow, and the name is strategic drift. And companies like Kodak, Nokia, Motorola, these companies in their times, they suffer this force, basically, in which your market is going to another position, and you are very slow to respond to that. Additionally, another thing now, which yes.
Paco, let me interrupt you. So you mean basically that people switch to cameras that don't have any kind of film, and you still produce films for cameras?
Yes, yes, correctly. Companies like Xerox, even earlier than that, you have a main business model making many profits, and you maintain the model, and the market goes to something different. And you are in a good position, but you miss the opportunity. So that is more or less a strategic drift. But you have additionally something else, which is, and everyone is talking about this one, VUCA. So you have high volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And this one is different because in this case, the change is very fast. So you have to deal with two things. One is a slow change of the market, and the other one is a very, very fast one. And companies are trying to deal with this. And basically, if you take a look from a strategy, and I will say options, the options that you take to make your business model in the old days, you have like three possibilities. One was differentiation, the other one was low cost, and the third one is focus. This is the idea proposed by Michael Porter and is part of the corporate option strategy. But in the year 2005, it came a new possibility, which is the possibility of opening a new market. We call that a blue ocean strategy, and the previous one, we call it a red ocean strategy. So in the red ocean strategy, you are competing in an existing market, and you are trying to beat the others. In the blue ocean strategy, you are trying to build a new market from scratch, where competitors are irrelevant. And this is a key thing, in my opinion, for how does business makes money today, because companies today, they have to do the two things together at the same time. And that is coming even from some empirical studies from Cambridge University and from Cranfield. The idea is that you will need to try to get profits from your red ocean strategy, from your existing markets. And also you will have to bring new markets with this blue ocean strategy model logic at the same time. And companies, they find very difficult to do that in parallel, very, very difficult. And I will finish my introduction just explaining that we have something else like this trend of sustainability, concepts like the triple bottom line, and this technology now imperative, which is even affecting full economies, not like the platform economy. So you need to understand.
So basically, if I have understood correctly, Paco, companies need to be dealing with their daily business that typically is extremely time consuming and is quite complex by itself. But at the same time, they need to be looking ahead. They need to be forecasting which will be the new market and trying to influence to create it in a context that is ambiguous. So it's very unlikely that your prediction will ever come true. So it's quite risky. And Paco has mentioned the triple bottom line just now, and John, that's affecting the financial industry quite a lot. So how do you see this concept? How do you see this VUCA situation, sustainability changes in the paradigm on how businesses make money?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for taking me here into this webinar. I'm delighted to share this space and time with you all. Well, Mikel, thank you for your question. I think first of all we have to talk about efficiency and resiliency. I think time seems to be the most scarce resource currently, and it's true that the pandemic has put an effort and a focus on resiliency rather than efficiency, but we have to be very clear. We have to understand which areas are core for our organizations, what the mission and vision are. I think this is one key thing. We can never lose the scope of why we do things and which the main stakeholders are. And I underline stakeholders and not only shareholders, and I will develop the idea later on. And this is critical so that our job makes sense to us and it is aligned with the value added by our organizations. I think taking into account these stakeholders will make us give our clients a best service, a holistic service, which is really important nowadays, in my opinion. It's true that clients must be at the center of what we do, but I think if we take into account all what our stakeholders need, I think the products and services we will provide out to our clients will be more value added. And I will put an example now. For example, I work in a firm that does private banking businesses. I work on the asset management side. And somebody might think that what I want to do and I need to do is just trading stocks, bonds on a short-term basis many times every day. I think if everybody at our firm, and I think everybody at our firm understands this clearly, if everybody understands that the best client is the one who stays with us long time because we have been able to build trust with that client, then we will be able to run our portfolios differently, and we will be able to focus on transformational issues that are currently taking place into our economy, and therefore be able to serve at the same time our clients' needs and our stakeholders' needs. For example, and taking back to your question, Mikel, if we integrate environmental, social, and governance criteria in our portfolios, I think we will improve our investment processes. We will invest on a long-term basis. We will put and invest our clients' money in long-term good investments, and we'll make money for our clients. By the way, some of them are social entities that need that return so that they can continue providing social services. And at the same time, we make money for our shareholders. By the way, in our case, is Scotiabank, whose last shareholders are 3 foundations that have a great and large social budget. So as you can see, you can implement new criteria, taking into account stakeholders, new way of investment, new risk, new paradigms in our core activities in our organizations, and then you can get a good return for our clients, good return for our stakeholders.
Thank you very much, John. So I think that you have summarized as well what Alethea had to mention about this topic. She also pointed to the need to be looking to what the client, the customer needs, and John has just widened that concept to all stakeholders that the company may serve. And Alicia pointed to something interesting that is connected to what Paco has explained earlier, that is that expectations change as well. So it's not only that the actual market may be changing, but which are the expectations about what's going to happen next is changing continuously. So that's this volatile situation that Paco has talked about earlier. Well, the kind of management that both of you have pointed to needs a change in how companies operate. So how decisions are taken and how this mindset just goes bottom up or up down in the company. You can have both situations, but they need to have a different operational mindset. Do you agree with that, or is that not really an issue of changing how companies are managed? How do you see that, Paco? Please.
Okay. Yes, I will reply from two views. One is organizational behavior, and the other one is corporate strategy. Starting with the first one, companies in general, and especially large corporations, are moving from a mindset of understanding a company as a machine to a living organism. In this sense, companies, and you will see that if you take the big area of agility, they are trying to move these pyramids with a lot of bureaucracy and silos to something different. And this is more connected with new concepts like tribes and squads, which work inside a company almost like startups. So these are big business units. For example, if you take a look to ING, BBVA, or Banco Santander, or these companies, they are moving their big functions to tribes in connection to something in relation to a customer need. For example, mortgages or loans.
Mm-hmm.
You have a tribe of something like 100 people working inside the bank to attend a business customer need. Inside this tribe, you will have these squads, and you can get teams from 5 to 7, 8, 9 people, multidisciplinary, with a lot of knowledge in different areas: marketing, finance, innovation, software. And these like high-level teams, they have a lot of independency. So they run even as a startup, as I was saying. And this is a big change in the sense of organizational behavior. So some companies, the question is, do we have to do the same? Do we wait? Do we simply migrate part of the company? Because that is quite risky. So there is a big debate of how to do this move to agility. The other view is corporate strategy. And in that sense, in innovation, we have something quite clear, which is and what we call the DNA of innovation. What is inside a company that every year will appear in the rankings as a top company in innovation. You can have new companies like Google or Tesla or whatever, normally appear very high in the innovation rankings, but you have also very old companies with more than 100 years, like 3M, Philips, General Electric, which are coming more from an industrial perspective. When we take a look to the DNA, we get 5 dimensions that they manage very, very well. So these dimensions are vision and strategy that John was mentioning. The second one is leadership styles, and this one is critical, leadership styles, because you will have many, many leaders inside a company in upper management and middle management, and you will find incredible things, to be honest. The third one is culture. Fourth is all the processes, and I am not only speaking about processes connected to innovation, but also with marketing, like market research, or with finance, like control systems or whatever. All the processes, they need to be aligned more or less with an innovation mindset. And the last one is the work environment, where you are trying to put spaces to nurture and to foster several behaviors. Sometimes you are looking for creativity, but other times you are looking for decision making. So you need these spaces inside the company. So we call all these the dimensions of innovation.
Thank you very much. John, which will be your take?
Well, I think one of the things that Paco was mentioning before, it's just firms are having a shorter lifespan, right? I think it's impossible that the organizations can be successful nowadays on the long-term basis if they are run as if they were run in the 70s or 80s. Innovation, as Paco was saying, is a key thing. And I know that another thing I think it's important as well is about, I was mentioning before, it's about what is called the stakeholder capitalism. It's funny because this might be something like not very private oriented thing, but in August 2019, an organization of CEOs of leading US organizations called the US Business Roundtable, so nobody suspects of being abandoning the shareholder remuneration and these kind of things, they released a new statement saying and strongly affirming businesses' commitment to a broad range of stakeholders, including customers, employees, suppliers, communities, and of course, shareholders. So these stakeholders, I think, must be present in the organization's culture. But how can we achieve it? I think we can do it through a very good governance and very good enhanced risk management procedures. And these risk management procedures must must comprise new environmental, technological, and social issues, since we are seeing in meetings with companies and meetings with private entities, all the type of organizations, that many organizations are not taking into account the environmental, social, and technological risks that they are facing. And this obviously reduces the lifespan of those organizations because they can continue in that red ocean that Paco was talking, and they are not considering going into the blue ocean structure. So I think that those changes in the culture, I think they are critical. We need to understand the new trends. The new regulation within the European spectrum is becoming paramount on environmental especially, but social matters will also come in the next years, and they will be also as cumbersome as they are trying to be with the environmental issues. And I think every organization must have mechanisms internally to share that knowledge and to be able to prioritize the more material issues, because now we are also seeing how important the new KPIs are, key performance indicators, and they are starting to be like a huge amount of KPIs. I would recommend just to focus, and linking to the first question, focus on the materiality. I mean, really, what the main KPIs are for our businesses, who are going to be the most important ones in taking into the long-term view and expanding our lifespan of our organizations. So that's one of the things that must be taken into account very seriously. And then also the good thing is that I think one of the, and we at Fineco, for example, are quite strict on this. We try to base our knowledge on academic papers, because I think that creates a more rigorous structure of thinking, a more rigorous dialogue within the organization, and probably you will get to new places that otherwise you wouldn't reach. So for example, in terms of the environmental, social, and governance issues, a large majority of papers are showing that organizations that take those risks, those variables, those criteria into account in the daily operations, they reduce the risk those companies bear, and many of them have shown positive effects in relation to the performance. So I think the culture is very important, and culture must be kept up to date with the new trends, new regulatory issues linked to environmental, social, and technological issues.
Thank you very much, John and Paco, for your answers. I was just taking some notes about some things that you have mentioned. And Paco, when you were talking about the squads, I was thinking in this book, Israel Startup Nation, in which they basically explain the success of startups in Israel because they have the kind of people and organizations that allow this process, that allow small groups of people from different backgrounds to take initiatives and to be quite independent in sort of a sort of intra-company startup and producing entrepreneurship. And John, you have mentioned the three capital letters of ESG investment, and if I have understood correctly, environmental and social issues they have quite a relevant part that is regulatory. So companies will be forced to advance there because rules will force them to. But for companies to do it by themselves, what is key is G. So governance will be a tool that will allow them to actually implement changes that correspond to social and environmental needs. And otherwise, you may have greenwashing, you may have just companies paying lip service to this thing. Obviously, in 2021, no company may succeed saying that they don't believe in environmental issues. But obviously, you can say something and then do something different. So having an appropriate governance will make you be aligned and be in line with your material objectives, as you have put it. Alicia has mentioned several things that you have mentioned as well. She also talked about how we have 7 billion clients and 7 billion stakeholders, and companies need to think on this aggregate group, and they need to be able to differentiate between services and products that can be homogeneous for all these 7 billion people and those that need to be diverse and need to address specific issues that they may have. Well, I think that there are several things in the conversation that are quite interesting that are coming out. And that's connected to the next question. So how can individuals add value to the companies? And particularly that's connected as well to the mission and vision of business schools. So we have had in the previous slide at the beginning, we have seen which is the mission of the Deusto Business School in a very short sentence. That is business education to serve the world. And that aligns with what you have said. But there is a further mission that is transforming our world together. And that's the whole mission of the University of Deusto. So how can we prepare people for this new world, for this new normal? Which are the skills that they need to have in order to add value in this process? John, how do you see that?
Well, there are hard skills and soft skills, but if I have to choose one piece of advice, for me it would be never stop learning. It could be through online courses. We have many possibilities nowadays. I could be with new in-person certificates, informal education, but I think developing and enhancing curiosity and never stop learning, I think it will be for me the most important thing. I think we live, this is like a paradox. I think we live in a world that complexity is growing bigger and bigger, and the obvious and logic answer to that would be specialized further in our specific knowledge. However, I think the more complex the world becomes, the more necessary is to have people that link concepts that are apparently unrelated. And this is I think this is one of the key characteristics of a good innovator, linked to what Paco has been saying in previous comments. I think that is why this is important to keep pace in learning and understanding the new developments linked to environmental, social, and technology issues that will drive growth. I think one of the things, as you were saying, Mikel, you need, I mean, everyone wants to transform the world into something better. But to transform the world into something better, you first of all have to understand the world. And to understand the world, you have to develop curiosity and always learn new things, what's going on in different parts of the world, in different parts of the supply chains you might be working in. So, and this is not happening in 5 years. This is happening now. And I think this is key just to understand how to get a new job, how to remain competitive, how to develop your human skills, or even if you want to start a new company. But I think this is key, not just to become a successful startup builder, and everyone might think about that and about new Facebook type of companies or Amazon's or whatever. I think this is the never stop learning advice is just to remain competitive in this more complex world that we live in. And I think I agree that we must be ambitious in our goals, but we must never forget that a kid must crawl before he starts running. And Jose Maria Arizmendiarreta, the priest who was the founder of the Mondragon Cooperative Group, always said, you must look long, but you must give little steps. And I think those little steps start from never stop learning attitude.
Okay, that's very much connected to lifelong learning that has been a goal for the European Union in the last decades, and that has been incorporated into universities all across Europe. So this need to be continuously reskilling, to be learning about new topics, about developing new skills. That's something that quite likely will accompany people that are joining university in these years. Young people will have to continue learning for all their lives. That's pretty clear. Paco, which other skills would you think that are relevant?
Okay, Mikel and John. Yes, I will answer in 3 ways. The first one is trying to connect a couple of ideas with the comments from John, which are extremely important. Second one, I will give you some skills that I believe are key today. And the third one is I'm going to speak very, very fast about the process of innovation, because it's very specific and you need to do several things for that. In relation to the first one, we go to Florence every year with the Master in Business Innovation to learn how to lead creativity and innovation. And there are 2 topics. One is, we call that the Medici effect. Medici effect is coming from Lorenzo de' Medici, and you're trying to find innovations in the intersection of things. For example, industries or sectors. You want to find something between banking and retail, or aerospace and whatever, automotive. Normally, the good innovations are inside the intersection. You can also mix, for example, functions, finance and marketing, or engineering and creativity, for example, or even passions. Someone with a passion for sports, speaking with someone with a passion for health issues. So that is the Medici effect, which is very important to cross knowledge across different areas. The second one is polymathy, which means, and Leonardo da Vinci, he was a polymath, a person with a lot of knowledge in many areas. So you can choose in your life if you are going to go more to be a generalist or a specialist, or even you will mix the 2 along your life. But from a leadership perspective, you need to understand how to lead these different perspectives, because normally a generalist will have a lot of knowledge in many, many fields, but the depth is going to be little in relation to the other one. Now, that is a first comment in relation to John. Second one is skills. So in relation to skills, as he said, you have soft skills and hard skills. The World Economic Forum for this year, 2020-2021, they are putting at the top in soft skills what I call the 3 C's. That is complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. Now, this is extremely important, because when I am teaching and giving my classes to executives from many well-known companies, normally I am asking these people questions like, when did you do the last program about creativity? And no one replies. So it seems that there are not creativity programs, or they are not taking these programs, or the same with critical thinking. So I think knowledge is starting to understand that you can learn creativity and you can learn complex problem solving. Okay, that will be part of the soft skills, and you have many other ones. If you go for the hard skills, these ones are very much technological now. So normally at the top, you will find artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, Internet of Things, big data, all these areas. And the idea there will, in my perspective, is you don't need to be an expert and to program if you don't want to, but at least you need to understand how that is going to affect your business. Is artificial intelligence going to affect your department, your business unit, your customers, your suppliers? You need to understand from a business perspective if that is going to have an impact. And the third one is the process of innovation, because in the process of innovation, you are trying to take an idea from the concept to the market with success, basically. And in the process, normally you will have you will have like 4 stages. One is to understand the insight, the challenge, the potential need. Then you need to understand very, very well the problem inside, all the things that build the problem. Then you will need to make many possible solutions and to select the best ones. After that, you will create a business model, and then you will need to, if you are able to try to scale everything up. Now, in this sequence, normally you will have to be very creative at the beginning. You will have to work in an open innovation mindset also in the beginning, in the middle. For that, you will be using things like design thinking, that is very well known for open innovation. But when you are getting to the solution and the business model, you will need more agility. And now software companies are bringing methodologies like a Scrum or Kanban, which help you to be more agile. And when you reach the business model part, then you need to understand entrepreneurship, things like lean startup or things like that. Now, that is a lot of knowledge. I am bringing many, many things here. Some things are coming from innovation, some things are even coming from management. So in your long learning process, you need to choose which one is better for you, no? In order to try to build these capacities and competences and try to be a better executive or employee or whatever.
In a continuously changing environment, I think that the short answer is that what you need to know is a lot of things, many things, and as deep as you are able to. Alicia has pointed to some of the things that she has mentioned several times. Curiosity, that both of you have been talking about. She has been talking about holistic thinking, and you have been talking about this complex problem solving and how you need to understand which are the interactions. You have pointed to this code writer, that you don't need to know how to write code in order to understand how this artificial intelligence or how these technology programs may affect your business, and the other way around. So many of these innovations in technology, they will have an impact that is unexpected in different fields, but the experts in the field may be able to forecast. And I think just in cryptocurrencies, and quite likely many technological people that work in cryptocurrencies will not think on which are the financial consequences that they may have if they are completely successful. Meanwhile, somebody from the financial side may understand that they have huge risks involved. And let's go to the last part of our conversation. So this is connected to something that we haven't explicitly said, but it's below many of the things that you have mentioned, that is engagement. How do people engage and how do they behave? So as a Jesuit business school, we ask for people to have a moral compass. So to know, to be able to differentiate what is good and what is not good, and to choose the first thing, obviously. And in order to properly value this thing, you need to have knowledge from many fields just to know which will be the effect of your decisions. So how do you see that? So how do you think that, which are the characteristics in terms of behavior that people must have in order to successfully weather these market conditions that will be very complex, changing, and problematic in the coming decades?
If you want, I can jump into this.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Mikel. I think related to this complexity you are talking about the world we live in, right? And also related to the need that never stop learning that I was mentioning before. I think one of the wisest way of behaving is to be humble, because now we have a huge amount of pieces of information, huge amount of access to new platforms, new websites. And we might think that we have that information is transferred and converted into knowledge. And we might think that we know everything around us. And I think that's a great mistake. I would suggest listening to your colleagues, listening to your friends, listening to the stakeholders I was talking about in the beginning, because I think there is always something new to learn from them. And then also the second thing I will focus on for a way of behaving, I think it's very important that every single person in your organizations must enjoy dignity in what she does. I think in a more technology-driven world, every person, I think every person counts. Every single job in a firm is necessary, in my opinion, for the success of that company. So I would recommend never losing the respect for tasks that are apparently, and I underline apparently, low value added. And I think this is not unique just for leaders and something that only leaders must embrace. But I think it makes a difference if any person at your organization, each person at your organization embraces this being humble and also respect any kind of task developed at the organizations. I think that will create eagerness, that will create enthusiasm around you, regardless of the ranks of the different jobs and the different levels at your organization, or how non-critical tasks seem to be. This will create, and I think everyone sees that around ourselves, that this will create a more collaborative and diverse environment. And I think this is key for our organizations, because we must be agile, we must be open to new knowledge, we must be open to new people. So I think those two things are critical. And I think they are the attributes of sustainable organizations. Just as a finishing line, I would quote an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Thank you very much for this proverb. I think that there is a lot of wisdom there. Well, John has been pointing to something that I may summarize as empathy and being humble. So Paco, what else would you add to this mix?
Okay, first, I think the comments from George are excellent, because they are very much deep down into humanism. And this is something that we really need more and more. Speaking about the skills and behaviors, I will make a brief comment now. And I will also mention, to finalize, a model, which is the sustainable oriented innovation model, that is also capturing very well this behavior. But starting with the first part, skills and behaviors, normally you will need, in generally, things like mutual respect, trust, these things that probably are complementary to the ones that John was mentioning. But something that you will find from an innovation perspective is that normally in companies you will find like two types of people, I will say, or employees. And we call this the adapters and the innovators. Basically, if you have an operational cycle trying to run the business operations that are present today, this week, this month, this semester, the adapters will be doing the task in things like administrative procedures, processes, things like that. And these people, they are very, very good to things like attention to detail, things like that. But if you go to the other part, which is the innovators, these people normally are working in the innovation cycle, and they are looking to the things that we are going to be selling in 2, 3, 5, 7 years. And these people are a little bit different in the sense that they take more risk in their behaviors, and they have more creativity at a moment in time. So, and we get this data from type of competence questionnaire that we pass in the Master in Business Innovation from Carlos Osorio. So normally when you have, for example, 100 employees, you can go through this questionnaire and you will find the adapters and the innovators. And it's very good to understand which ones are better for one or the other thing. Because if you have an innovator that is going to take more risk and a lot of creativity, and you put this person to do many like things like processes, procedures, administrative paperwork, things like that, probably you are going to kill a little bit the talent that this person has potentially. Okay? So that is in relation to skills and innovation. And to finish, I will mention this sustainable oriented innovation concept, which basically has like 3 stages. And you can try to find if the company is in stage 1, 2, or 3. In the stage 1, normally you are talking about operation optimization. Here, you are trying to do things better. So imagine any company, a car manufacturer, you are trying to do a better car, basically. Faster, cheaper, whatever. In the second level, we call that transformational, organizational transformation. And this one is different because in this level, you are trying to do new things that are good for society, new things. And here you are bringing a lot of innovation. It's not only doing a car, it's doing something else. It can be an automotive vehicle that is going to be driven by an artificial intelligence and perhaps in the future even flying. So that is quite new. In the third one, we call that systems building. And that is also even different because here you are trying to do something good, something new, sorry, that is going to be good for the people planet in collaboration with others. And as John was mentioning, we are getting into a more complex world, and it's very difficult now for a company to do everything alone. It's very, very difficult. So you will find that companies like Facebook, they have an alliance with La NASA to do what? Trying to do this autonomous vehicle that is going to fly into the future. So systems 3 building, not many companies are already there. I can mention some. Probably Philips will be a company very much in systems building 3. And that is like an aim for companies to reach, trying to do new things that are good for planet, people, all these things in collaboration with others.
Okay. Well, I think that that's very much connected to, I go back to what I've told you, that is the mission of the university, transforming our world together. And here I highlight together, okay? Because obviously when we are facing very complex issues, we cannot solve them on ourselves, on our own. We need to be collaborating with others. I think that even though we haven't used these exact terms, some of the things that Alicia had put on this 4 topic, like having an impact, trying to have an impact, that's something that is relevant. Global approach, so that's something that we have been talking about, and trying to find enriching living experiences. So trying to have maybe volunteering, maybe going to work somewhere else for a short period of time that may give you an information, may give you a living experience that will make you let's put it like that, a better human being. And this will help you add value to your community, to your company. And this is basically what we will be, what we are all looking for. Well, I think that this is it. Thank you very much, John and Paco, for your comments. I think that they have been insightful and value adding. It's been really a pity that we haven't been able to have Alicia with us today, but well, fortunately we had her comments. And Anna, I don't know if we have any question from the public, or we have addressed these issues while we were talking.
There are currently no questions at the moment, Miguel. So you may continue for a few more minutes if you want, or maybe ask questions yourselves.
So just in case somebody decides to make a question, I will make a question myself for a second. So Paco has been mentioning these adapter, innovator profiles that you may have in a company. And something that has surprised me is when Paco has said that, well, innovators, they take more risk. So their position is riskier. Because as I see it in this new normal, it is those that follow procedures and those that follow things as they were done in the past, those that take a lot of risk. Because if we continue with business as usual, well, nobody will be able to live in this world in 30 years time. So we better innovate and make things quite differently. So how do you see that? Do we really understand that the risky thing is to continue with business as usual? Or this is something that we may talk about that, but we don't really believe it yet?
I think that is an excellent comment, and for me, it's a changing paradigm, to be honest. If you take studies from entrepreneurship, comparing the United States and Spain, you will find that looking for different dimensions, one that these studies are looking to is risk aversion. And it seems that in the United States, people in general, they have a higher tolerance to risk. So they take more risks. In Spain, I think we are changing quite a lot for the last 2 decades. And especially perhaps probably also in the last year with the COVID, we are changing, but still we have this situation where in a family, a normal family, if you say, I'm going to start a company, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, the company will think like, oh, I will rather prefer you to go to the public sector or to a private company, corporation, because that is going to be easier now. So we have to change a little bit, but I think that you are right. In essence, we are going into a world that in not understanding risk is going to be a problem. And I think you are very right in that.
I think in that link to that, Paco, I think the regulator and the public sector is taking steps towards that direction. For example, I think in the financial sector, there are new sandboxes that provide the possibility to new firms to try to investigate and now to elaborate new business models within a relatively safe regulatory environment for them and for the incumbents. So I think also one of the persons quite linked to our territory, which is Mariana Mazzucato, always talked about the entrepreneurial state. And I think the public sector starts to give innovative steps and also pushing the private sector within new boundaries and providing the private sector and other type of organizations with a more stable or new possibilities on the regulatory side that provide new ideas can come up more safely, and obviously reducing that risk that comes from the regulatory environment.
Yeah, very interesting that you have brought Mazzucato, because that's pretty common sense, that what governments have done, at least in our territory, when they have been helping startups, most of the time they have been providing grants, that basically means that you take the downside, because if things go wrong, you lose the money, but you don't take the upside. If things go right, you will not get any profit out of it. While if they became partners and they became shareholders, they will get the upside if there was any. It is true as well that then you may have, you need people to be financially literate to understand that, because otherwise you may have people saying that, well, but they have invested in this particular company that hasn't gone well, so they are wasting the money, and they don't understand that, well, within the basket of companies where they have invested, just a couple of them will be successful, but being successful there is what really matters. Doesn't matter that you have lost in some others. And I may end with one question that you have pointed to. You have pointed to enhance risk in the future, and I see here two concepts. That is litigation, and is stranded assets. So quite likely, businesses today, and investors as well, they don't understand that there are stranded assets around us. So to take a very simple example, if all the oil fields that oil companies have in their balance sheets, and they have the rights to drill in these oil fields, if they actually use these rights, then we will not be able to live in the world. So we know for sure that they will not be able to drill all this oil. So these assets will be worth less than what they are worth in the balance sheet today, and somebody will have to take the loss. For the time being, there is a little. I think that people don't feel that, don't seem to understand that somebody will have to take losses, because not all these assets are worth what they are. And second, we have the experiences of tobacco companies, for instance, where you have had litigation from people negatively affected because they were smokers or whatever, and companies that have been required to pay huge fines in order to compensate. And you have these things as well in other sectors. Quite likely with climate change, we will also see this sort of thing for private companies and for governments as well. We have some experiences in the US that were not successful, in the Netherlands that they were successful. Do you think that there will be a change in the mindset? Is already happening, that companies are starting to look to their assets and see whether they have something that they shouldn't have, and better get rid of it as soon as possible? Or...
Well, you see that on the stock market, right? If you look at the evolution of the oil and gas companies in the last few years, even if the coal, even if oil is the main raw material in terms of energy nowadays, the stock market looks at the future and where the marginal growth is gonna come in different sectors. And that's why, for example, some oil and gas companies are still butted down in the market, even if the market has completely recovered from the last year's of crack or the crash. So we've seen Exxon, we've seen many oil companies having huge provisions because of those stranded assets, and the market quite quickly puts those stranded assets and those risks in the share price. And I think when I was talking about environmental risks, I think it's key for investors to understand where they are putting the money into, because some companies and some sectors, they won't reverse to the mean. They won't reverse to the situation they had 2-3 years ago, because the world has changed. And I will put another example. It's like, for example, hotel companies, right? Hotel companies that are based on first line next to in the Caribbean, near to beaches, which are really good assets just to go on vacation. And what happens if the if the level of the sea increases, what happens with the new storms? What happens with the new hurricanes? How many days those hotels will be shut down because of those adverse climate events? How much capex, capital expenditure, will they have to put to renew those assets? I think those questions are already on the table, but I think everyone has to develop your own questions, develop your own KPIs, and see where those stranded assets and those risks can come from. And those are known unknowns, basically how they are going to happen, but we also have to prepare ourselves to the unknown unknowns.
Yeah, so there will be some black swans around. So first thing is that we need to be curious to be looking to which will be the impact and have a holistic approach to see in which different areas we will have these different impacts, and try to solve this problem for our company and for the other stakeholders. Paco.
Yes, I will mention something that is coming more from my field, which is more innovation and technology. And I believe that since the year 95 with Amazon and these companies like eBay or whatever, up to date, scalability is starting to be something extremely big now, no? In the sense that some companies, Uber, Airbnb, Spotify, all these companies, they had been showing losses for many years, and still investors, they were putting incredible amounts of money. Why? Because the scalability potential. Basically, the market potential is the planet, and if you manage to reach 1/3 or 2/3 of the planet, so many people that the business model is extremely interesting. Now, here you have then this situation where investors are probably betting, let's take 10 startups with potential to be very scalable, and 9 are going to fail. So they need to be sure that the one that is like a success, it will manage to cover all the other 9 that are going to fail. And this is more finance, is not my area, but what I see from innovation and technology is that if you go with a business model which is more linear instead of a business model which is more exponential, investors in Silicon Valley or whatever, Silicon Fen in the UK, in Cambridge University, they will say, forget about the linear business model, that's fine, interesting, but that's for you. Show me the exponential business model. And that is very much connected to finance in some way.
Yeah, and I think that after the pandemic, everybody is much more used to exponential developments than before. And we are running out of time, but we have a question.
We do have a question.
Yeah, Anna, please.
It's from Max Avendaño. And Max says, I believe Paco said something about being generalistic, such as Da Vinci, being able to understand a lot of things, but with poor depth. And also said that some people understand fewer things, but they have a great knowledge in those fields. My question is, which do you think is better, having a lot of general knowledge or having a specific sector of knowledge?
Okay, for the last 200 years, organizations, management, we have been promoting more the position of the specialist in general in organizations. What we see now is in the last 20 years, generalists are starting to be interesting because they speak many fields at a minimum level, and they can help very much in the coordination and communication, especially the connection of dots, things that are not connected. One thing will be to have like a personal strategy. In my case, I am probably more a type of a specialist where I am trying to manage at a high level 2 or 3 or 4 areas of knowledge. But something that I am doing personally is I am trying to mix science and arts, because some studies show that if you do that, if you mix science and art, you will boost creativity and other things. And something that I know, so I am trying to be as, when they presented me today, to combine to be a professor in innovation and to be an artist, digital artist. it will depend very much on your talents, your potentials, the things that you like. And in general, you will see that today it is very difficult to be a Leonardo da Vinci, which is doing both at a very high level. You will be more drift to be generalist or a specialist, and it will very much depend on you, I think.
But successful companies will have both profiles.
Yes.
They will need to combine both.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have any more questions. So we take this chance to thank our panelists, Dr. Brie, Dr. La Reina, and Mr. John Recacoechea, for your time and sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us. For the attendees, also many thanks for accompanying us today and for your interest and questions. As said before, you will receive today's session's video via email, and we will inform you about incoming Deusto international talks through the email summerschool@deusto.es. Thank you very much and stay safe.